In the early 1990s, the Philippines was at a turning point. After years of political change and social unrest, lawmakers decided to bring back one of the most controversial punishments of all, the death penalty. For more than 2 decades, executions had been absent from the country. But the new law promised that those guilty of the most heinous crimes would face the ultimate penalty. Soon, the nation would see if the government was willing to follow through. The first man to stand at the center of this moment was Leo Echegaray. In 1994, he was accused of repeatedly raping the 10-year-old daughter of his live-in partner. The act was classified as aggravated rape, a crime that carried the maximum punishment under the reinstated law. That same year, a Quezon City court handed down the death sentence. In 1996, the Supreme Court affirmed the ruling, sealing his fate. But the case was far from over. For years, Echegaray filed appeals, challenging not only his conviction, but also the constitutionality of the death penalty itself. He argued for his life in every legal way possible, yet each petition was denied. By 1998, the courts had removed every obstacle, and his execution was scheduled. On November 16, 1998, Echegaray was served his death warrant. His execution was set for January 4th of the following year. As the date approached, the eyes of the nation turned to New Bilibid prison. People waited to see if the death penalty would truly be carried out, or if politics would step in once more. Just hours before he was to be executed, the Supreme Court issued a temporary reprieve. For a brief moment, his life was spared. Congress was given time to review the death penalty law. But when lawmakers refused to repeal or amend it, the reprieve was lifted and the execution was reset. The case drew global attention. Human rights groups condemned the death penalty, the Catholic Church prayed for mercy, and international voices urged the Philippines to reconsider. But President Joseph Estrada stood firm. Determined to prove that the law would not be ignored, he rejected every appeal for clemency. Finally, on February 5, 1999, Leo Echegaray was led to the chamber inside New Bilibid prison. Before the nation, he became the first Filipino in more than 2 decades to be executed, and the first by lethal injection. In his final moments, he spoke his last words, "Sambayanang Pilipino, patawarin ako sa kasalanang ipinaratang ninyo sa akin. Baby, patawarin mo ako." In English, "Filipino people, forgive me for the sin you have accused me of. Baby, forgive me." Minutes later, his life was ended. The execution sent shockwaves across the country. For some, it was justice long delayed. For others, it was proof that the state had chosen death over mercy. The debate that followed only grew louder. Did the death penalty truly protect society, or did it risk sacrificing human dignity? Could a flawed justice system guarantee that every execution was just? 7 years later, the Philippines abolished the death penalty once again, turning its back on executions for good. But the story of Leo Echegaray remains a defining moment in Philippine history, a case that forced the nation to weigh justice against compassion, law against humanity, and punishment against forgiveness.